Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys football. The fellas are heading out to the Big 12 as the Kansas State Wildcats go on the road to play the West Virginia Mountaineers. It is always hard to win football games in Morgantown. That being said, this Kansas State team has been one of the more surprising stories of the Big 12. You take a look at who are the best teams in the Big 12, what teams you trust the most in the Big 12. Kansas State is right up there. They run the ball extremely well. They play very, very good defense. And when you look at consistent performers in that conference, Kansas State is right at the top, and they are putting together a nice little run to finish out the season. Before we get into the preview, just want to say thank you guys for all the support you guys have shown the channel. Again, we love making these videos. We love talking ball with you guys in the comment section. The support you guys have shown truly does mean a lot. So if you like the content, consider subscribing to the channel. That helps the boys out a lot. Let's get into the matchup. And when you're looking at this game, when you're handicapping this game, the biggest thing that jumps out at you is Kansas State running the ball against a West Virginia team that really has not been able to stop a nosebleed, especially on the ground. Adrian Martinez, I would be surprised if he's quarterback one this Saturday. Will Howard gives them a little bit more of a two-dimensional game. He already has more touchdowns on the season than Adrian Martinez. He's able to push the ball down the field a little bit more. And when you look at some of the playmakers at those wide receiver spots, Phillip Brooks, Cade Warner, Malik Knowles, Will Howard just gives you a little bit more of an ability to tap into that. Now, the story of this game, though, is the rushing attack. Deuce Vaughn, not only one of the best running backs in the Big 12, he is one of the best running backs in the country. One of my favorite running backs to watch. I mean, he's small, but he is next level short area quickness. If somebody's trying to tackle him in the open field, good luck. And he's also really, really good out of the backfield. I mean, 38 catches for 266 yards. I can't wait to get to this cat in the 2023 NFL draft season and break him down. But yes, he's small, and that's concerning as a prospect, but he does just about everything well. And he runs the ball extremely hard for the smaller frame. The big story when you're looking at this game is, can they stop Deuce Vaughn, who's averaging over 5.5 yards per carry? DJ Giddens is averaging 5.7 yards per carry. You look at what West Virginia does on the ground, stopping the run. They're allowing almost 150 yards per game to opposing offenses and 4.2 yards per carry. I have a hard time seeing West Virginia consistently stop this Kansas State rushing attack. And if you are able to run the ball against the team and keep that opposing offense off the field, it's very, very hard to win football games. Another big story is the turnovers. West Virginia hasn't been outplayed from a total yard standpoint in many of their games, but you look at what they do very poorly is they turn the ball over almost 2 times per game, and they don't even force a turnover per game. It's sitting at 0.8 right now. Kansas State, on the other hand, very good turning with that turnover margin, forcing almost 2 turnovers per game, and they've turned the ball over 0.7 times per game. They take care of the football. They take it away from the opponents. Those are the 2 stories that you kind of have to watch out for during this game. Second, West Virginia. Who's going to be quarterback one? JT Daniels gets benched at against Oklahoma. Gary Green comes in, and the offense unarguably looks better. JT Daniels has had some really impressive games, but he's also had some real duds. 13 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, only completing 60% of his balls. West Virginia, with Gary Green, looked like they had a little fire. Now, the problem is you put that film out. Gary Green, not necessarily a proven passer that JT Daniels is, although he's a very good runner. You take a look at what he did against Oklahoma coming in. He carried the ball. I don't want to mess up the stat line. Carried the ball 14 times for 119 yards. That's almost 9 yards per carry with 2 touchdowns. This team can run the ball much more effectively behind it, what I think is a very good West Virginia offensive line. That being said, are you going to be one-dimensional? Can you throw the ball effectively down the field? Gary Green, 12 of 22 for 138 yards and a touchdown. Threw the ball okay, but it's kind of a small sample size. Kansas State gets a week of film in on Gary Green. I have a hard time seeing Gary Green effectively push the football down the field as a passer. Then you got to talk about, can Kansas State stop the run? You look at what Kansas State has done. I absolutely love this front seven. They've been stingy against the run, allowing only 4 yards per carry. 4 yards per carry to opposing offenses. And really, that stat is a little inflated due to a couple games. Kansas State has been very good on defense. You look at what they did against Baylor, shut them down pretty much completely, and that is a team that wants to run the football a lot. Can West Virginia establish the run game against Kansas State is a massive, massive question mark. When you look to this, the pick here, getting to the pick, this kind of has to be like a vibe pick for you. It's 7.5 right now. I don't love it outside of a touchdown because, again, West Virginia has some juice on offense. You look at some of the playmakers they have. I'm a big fan of a guy like Tony Mathis, who's averaging almost 5 yards per carry. And they have some serious threats at the wide receiver spot. Bryce Ford-Wheaton kind of had a very strong start to the season. Petered off a little bit, but Sam James, guys like Caden Prather, they had the guys to be explosive and be able to keep it close. The thing is, if this line gets inside of 7, I really do like Kansas State. And from what I said earlier, it's kind of a vibe, a feel game for you. Kansas State looking like they're one of the better and more consistent teams in the Big 12. A tough loss against Texas where they kind of got down bad. A tough loss against TCU where if you don't have quarterback injuries, I don't think it's crazy to see them winning that game against TCU. And then they just go and beat the brakes off of Baylor. West Virginia, on the other hand, scrapes out a game at home against an Oklahoma team that's been just about as inconsistent as West Virginia. But before that, 31-14 loss against Iowa State, a 10-point loss against TCU, and then a butt kicking, 38-point butt kicking against Texas Tech on the road. Even that Baylor game at home, that Thursday night game, West Virginia probably wasn't the better team if it wasn't for a scoop and score and a few kind of big plays going their way. They're probably not winning that game either. West Virginia hasn't been very consistent. They're not a team that you're rushing to put your money behind. Kansas State, on the other hand, especially in their last 5 games, have been playing really, really good football. They're the team you trust a little bit more. You got to think, is this a must-win for Neil Brown? Do they need to win out this season for Neil Brown to keep his job? Because you can't imagine. We had this conversation in the summer. Neil Brown needed a 6-win season with this West Virginia team, I think, to keep his job. The performance on the field hasn't been great. There are aspects that you feel good about that you've seen Neil Brown do, but there's a lot of aspects that you haven't really been. The consistency, I think, it is my point, not to beat around it, is this team is talented. They have some performances where, like, this West Virginia team is on the right path. They're playing good football. And then there's some games like the Texas Tech game where you're left scratching your head saying, is this team getting better? I think this is a massive game for Neil Brown. I'm not necessarily taking Kansas State outside of that touchdown. You give me that line inside of 7, I'm probably a little bit more enticed to take this Kansas State team that is really starting to hit their stride towards the end of the season. They have a very good defense. They turn the ball over. West Virginia struggles on defense. They turn the ball over a lot. I'm probably riding with the Kansas State Wildcats inside of a touchdown. And again, I appreciate you guys and all the support you guys have shown to the channel. Again, if you like the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We do appreciate y'all for real. And we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.